Hello and welcome to Sean White's Solar and Energy Storage Podcast. Hello and welcome to Sean White's Solar and Energy Storage Podcast. Here we are in, what country is this?
We are in China right now.
We're in Shanghai.
Shanghai, China.
Okay. I wonder how you say Shanghai in Shanghainese. I don't know. We'll figure that out a little bit later. But I have a couple of good friends here. They had me come to Panama in January to work for their company NSolar. I did some consulting, I did some teaching, and I guess we sort of did some, what do you call it, lobbying? We talked to some officials and things like that. In fact, one of the officials I talked to used to be running your company, and he had the exact same name as Juan Carlos Navarro. Hey, Juan Carlos Navarro, number one or number two, I'm not sure which one. Welcome to the podcast. Thanks for coming here onto the Sean White Solar stage at SNEC in Shanghai. And we're going to talk a little bit about solar and storage. And then we have another guy that has almost the same name, and his name is Juan Carlos Aranjo, if I could pronounce it right. And also, my name in Panama is Sean Carlos. Does that sound pretty good to you guys? It seems like everybody at the company, how many Juan Carloses are at the company?
We have 3 Juan Carloses and 5 Juans.
Okay, so 5 Juans, and actually Sean is Juan in Spanish. Look it up. Pretty much the same thing. So I really enjoyed going down to Panama, teaching some solar down there. And you guys are into things like NABCEP and stuff. So tell us about your NABCEP-ness, Juan.
Well, I have to give credit to the other Juan Carlos, because when he founded the company in 2014, one of the things that we decided to focus on was that the whole team must be NABCEP certified. And since then, I joined the company in 2019, and I got my PV associate, and now recently passed the PV technical sales. It really helps a lot because it teaches us new things that we don't review or practice in the day-to-day thing. But I'll give it to Juan Carlos of how we started our relationship with NABCEP back in the day.
Great. And so why did you guys decide to go NABCEP when you're down in Panama?
Well, we heard about the NABCEP certification was one of the greatest in solar. So I traveled to Las Vegas in 2015, and I took the test there. It was not like today that you can take it online. I had to go to this place and empty my pockets and do the exam in a computer. I was really stressed. But I learned a lot. And I was the first person to get certified in Panama. I also made in our team 6 other engineers to get certified on solar.
That's pretty awesome. So most of the NABCEP certified people in Panama, in the company NSolar. And when I say NSolar, it's the letter N and it's solar. It says it on your shirt right there. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, I don't have the data to tell you for sure, but everybody that we know and most of the people that we talk to in Panama, the only NABCEP certified people are in NSolar. Yes, 100%. And I mean, honestly, like I was saying, I had a different experience as he did because I did it in my computer in my house. And there's like a proctor that looks at you, and then you have to like show him around your house and show him that there's no people there. And they're like under the table, and you cannot wear a jacket. And I mean, it's honestly a very thorough search of your house, but I mean, really gratifying once you pass the exam. Yes.
So when they were coming around, they're pretty much shining your computer camera around your house. Did they go into your sock drawer?
I mean, they wanted to, but I told them no. That was my line right there. That's the boundary. I'm not.
Yeah, I noticed too, like they always make you take your hat off, and then they're inspecting your National Electrical Code book and all that kind of stuff. And then if you get up to go to the bathroom, which I never had to do during an NABCEP test, I guess they have to like research your house.
Yeah, they do. You have a 10-minute break if you want to, and they do have to recheck the whole house. And the time that you're searching the house, it counts against the time that you have to take the test, which is like 4 hours, if I'm not mistaken.
Did they search the bathroom?
They did search the bathroom.
Yeah.
They did.
You don't want to have all the answers written on the TP. Well, okay. So when I went down there to NSolar, I was pretty impressed. These guys were very classy. They had a really nice company. They were going above and beyond the codes and standards that they had to do. What version of the NEC are you using for your company and for the country?
Yeah, right now in Panama, just adopt the 2020 NEC for all the standards, and we're pushing for the 2023.
That's pretty cool. And it's kind of interesting too. In Panama, lots of Latin American countries, in the Philippines, what we call the NEC, the National Electrical Code, they call it the NEC. And the difference between that is when you say NEC, that's called an acronym. And when you say NEC, that's called an abbreviation. Because most people call, when they should call it an abbreviation, they call it an acronym. Like a TLA, they say 3-letter acronym, but they should just say TLA. TLA, that's a TLA. So also, like I said before, there's a couple of different Juan Carlos Navarros, and there's actually Juan Andreas Navarro, and he was also on my podcast, and we're going to put a link to that in the show notes where you can check that out. But how do they tell the difference between yourself, Juan Carlos Navarro, and the other Juan Carlos Navarro that, by the way, he used to be the mayor of Panama City,
for 10 years.
For 10 years. He's the Minister of the Environment, and I think he's met a whole bunch of U.S. presidents.
And he used to run for president of Panama in the 2014 too, but he lost.
So why didn't you vote for him?
I vote for the other guy.
I'm sure you did.
Well, we can difference the office because everybody calls me Barb. That's my second last name. And that's my name in the office now. I'm not Juan Carlos Navarro anymore. I'm Mr. Barb.
Okay, great. And so one of the things that I thought was kind of interesting when I came down there too, you took me to some of your jobs and you specialize in microinverters. So what made you select microinverters versus other types of inverters? And so let's talk to, I guess when you go do a solar project, you start off with sales. So we're going to bring it to the salesperson, the Juan Carlos on my right.
I mean, I'll be repeating a story that I've heard many times of why did we decided to start using microinverters. And the reason is that Mr. Barb and the other Juan Carlos Navarro, they decided to put a system in Mr. Navarro's house in the beach in Panama. And they used a string inverter, Fronius, if I'm not mistaken. And I don't mean to do anything with that. But the results that they saw with a string inverter due to the context of the environment in Panama, the salinity in the air, the temperature that you're working with, and the voltage drop, they realized that a better solution for our country was the microinverters. And since then, we have decided only to work with them, and that's, till this day, this what we do. And the results that we have seen are way, way, way better. The O&M is more efficient. We got it in the roof, and we know what the system we need to get our hands on. And the kilowatt hour output of the system is also way better due to the MVP by panel. And I mean, that will be the real answer, and that's what it is. And we have been talking around here to see if we can find a string inverter that meets our strict engineering requirements, and I'll let him decide if that's ever going to happen. But I want to open up the Pandora box and start getting some bigger projects, if you know what I'm saying.
Okay. So that was Juan Carlos Arango, and he's the solar salesperson for NSolar. And I'm sure he's not like a solar salesperson that a lot of people talk about. So one of the problems that we have in the United States is there's people that are knocking on doors. How many doors do you go knock? Do you go door to door in Panama?
No, if you go knock the dog in Panama, that's not going to work. They're probably going to shoot you. I mean, I'm not surprised that doesn't happen in the States as well. No, I'm kidding. But in Panama, it's more about the connections that we have, the trajectory. We already have 10 years in the business. So now only by word of mouth, we have a lot of people knocking on our door thanks to the good service that we do and the good quality of the installations and the quality of the equipment we use. It makes my life easier, honestly.
Yeah, and just a little side note about that, like for these door knockers, some people blame unscrupulous door knockers. Not all of them. Some of them are fine, but some of them are not even NABCEP certified, if you can believe that. I mean, that's hard to believe.
I mean, if you're going to be knocking on doors for trying to tell somebody that they need to make a very big investment, because solar panels they have many financing options, but the equipment is not something cheap. It's not like you buy a t-shirt. This is a commitment you're doing to your house. you're helping the environment, you're getting independence, you're not depending on if you have net billing, net metering, or what you have in your area, you're going to be able to save some of that money or get some money back. If you're going to try to convince somebody to do something like that and you don't have the technical expertise or you don't have a team like I did when I got there, because my background is banking. I used to work at a bank. And then I got to NSolar and they teach me everything I know. So it's the willingness to learn what you need if you want to be a good salesman in this industry, because it keeps evolving so much. Like we come every year to this fairs and it's like the first time we came, we had like the poly panels and now we're talking about HJT, 25% efficiency. And you need to keep reading of what's happening, because if you don't, you'll end up in the back of the room and don't get your commissions and everything that the sales life know what's up.
Yeah, great. And so just going back to the solar bros, some of the door knockers that are the less ethical ones, some people are blaming them for the government going down on the tax credits. And so there's a big drama going on right now with tax credits in the United States, and they're getting blamed for kind of messing with the reputation of the industry. So just remember, it's always good to be ethical. And so now we're going to talk to Juan Carlos Navarro again. And another thing about there's being two Juan Carlos Navarros, and you're the one that took the test. How do we know that the other Juan Carlos didn't take the test and then you take credit for it?
When I did the test, I make sure I use both of my last names. So his Kelkeye and mine is Barb. So my diploma says Juan Carlos Navarro Barb, to make sure it was me.
And then what is his other last name? I guess it would be like your mother's maiden name.
Yeah, his other last name is Kelkeye.
Yeah, and I remember we all went to dinner at his house, and it was in the historical part of Panama. What is that called?
Casco Viejo.
Yeah, Casco Viejo. And it was like super beautiful, like this really old house with this big library. And he was such a great guy. He was so well read. And I really enjoyed the trip. I hope you guys invite me back. Are you going to invite me back?
Yeah, sure. We can take you fishing again.
Yeah, and we went fishing. And what was that island that we went to?
We went to the San Jose Island, to a place called Hacienda del Mar. There's a hotel there. Very, very nice place. I recommend it.
Yeah, it was a very nice place to go swimming in January. That was my favorite. And I think when I came there too, the rainy season ended like the day before I got there. And so it was pretty nice. I kind of remember too that they said that the 49ers were there getting stem cell treatments the week before I was there. So that was pretty cool. So I went and got a couple of stem cells for myself. It was really good. And that means that I have other people's cells in my body. So I'm like two people in one, sort of like, superhero stuff, It works really good. Really works really good for podcasting.
How do you feel about that? Are you a new man now?
Oh yeah, I have some umbilical stem cells in me, so that just makes me like the super podcaster up here on this stage today. So another thing, so we were talking about microinverters from the PV technical sales standpoint, and what is your job, Juan Carlos Navarro Barb?
Well, I'm the project manager and manager of operations of NSolar. I take care of all the installations. I take care of all of the maintenance department. And I was a guy that put microinverters in Panama for the first time. It was in my house. I put the first 8 N-phase microinverters in my roof house. And I study a lot of the difference between microinverters and strings. And I decided that if I wanted to make a very responsible business offering solar systems to other people, it has to be with microinverters.
And at one time, I know that your company had the world's largest microinverter system. And tell us about that system and how big it was. And you could say how big the system was, DC and AC.
Well, we did this solar farm, 2.4 megawatts, in a place called Chiriquí. It's in Panama. It's the province right next to Costa Rica. It was 8,000 microinverters. We used the C250 model of N-phase and 300 watts of power of jingly solar modules. That was like the biggest at the time. It was around 2015.
Wow. So you said 2.4 megawatts. Was that inverters or PV modules?
It was 8,000 microinverters, 8,000 solar modules.
Okay. Wow. Okay, so 8,000, so 250 watts, so it's probably like, was that 2 megawatts of inverters and then a little bit more of the PV, so we get your PV to inverter ratio there. And are you also an engineer?
Yes, I am a mechanical engineer, but I've been working in electric field for all my life.
And what college did you go to? You went in the US, right?
No, I went to Monterrey, Mexico, to Tecnológico de Monterrey.
That would be a little bit nicer in January. And then how about Juan Carlos Arango? Where did you go to school?
I studied in Texas Tech in Lubbock, Texas, and I graduated from business administration with a marketing specialization and a minor in psychology. I wanted to be a psychologist when I was a kid. Do you believe that?
Well, you kind of are, I guess, if you're doing PV technical sales and you got some ethics there and you're like selling solar. It's got to be like psychology. You're like marrying people. You're doing like marriage counseling for microinverters.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. But once you put it that way, I believe that you're right. It has actually helped me a lot to help bring people into this world of the solar.
We interrupt you for a very important announcement. Sean White's Solar and Energy Storage Podcast has been brought to you by Sean White's Solar and Energy Storage Podcast. That's right, Sean White is sponsoring his own podcast, and he wants to remind you to go check out some of his classes. You can go to SolarSean, that's Solar, SEAN.com, and then click on the links to check out his classes. You can check out his heat spring classes, and you can also hire him to teach classes for you, like at your company, something like that. Now back to the show. So a little bit about, like, I know that I went down there, and Panama is one of those countries struggling with net metering. Do either of you want to go into that at all?
I mean, I wouldn't say struggling with net metering. I don't like that phrase. We love net metering down there. The kilowatt hour price in Panama is around 30 cents. And people having full net metering 101, it helps us have a return on our investments of around 2-3 years with a 25-30% IRR on your investment. And right now, the distribution companies in Panama, which are two of them, one is from Colombia and one is from Spain, they're trying to establish net billing. They want to eliminate the net metering because they are proposing that the people that are using distributed generation are being like mooching off the grid, and the other rest of the people needs to pay for their maintenance. And there's a technical proposal that you can say that, but what we're talking about here is that you want to have people be able to have independence, for them to not have to pay for their bill, for them to be able to add a battery in the future, to have backup, for them to have an electrical car and help the emissions. And the distributor saying something like that when they are taking $350 million on revenue to their countries, which is not Panama, every year, it's a little, I don't want to say the words that I'm thinking, but
Well, it's okay to just swear in Spanish. Nobody will care.
no lo voy a decir, pero que se vean palabras.
Yeah, and so I just want to talk to everybody in the world making policies right now. That means you, politicians, and people on different boards that make all the big decisions for everyone, is what we need to do in this world is when we make policy changes to make them gradual. If you make policy changes gradual, if you get rid of net metering, it's not going to be such a struggle. And then what happens is when you make a policy change all at once, you create like this big excess in work, and then all of a sudden it just drops off. And it just makes it uncomfortable for businesses. It makes it uncomfortable for the people that are getting laid off. And they actually have to hire extra people for that, for that big last surge, until then they cut off the policy and they change it. So I'm not even against slowing things down 1% at a time, but doing a whole bunch all at once is just a bad thing. You got that, world? And by the way, here we are, we're in Shanghai at SNEC, the world's largest solar conference, and I think about half the world is here right now. There's approximately 500,000 visitors here. I was actually doing a class here. Yesterday I did energy storage, the day before I did solar, and we were talking about like current, and we were talking about energy storage and things like that. And one of the analogies I had is when the conference is over, there was this huge surge of people getting on the train. And instead, if we had energy storage, we could put those people in holding for a while, and then we could have a more gradual filling up of the trains. We could make it more constant instead of all at the end of the day. In fact, I'm going to make a request next year for SNEC to have a 24-hour conference. What do you think about that?
That would be great for you.
Yeah, it would be really good too for the people that have jet lag. You know, this is like a very global city. It's very modern. They have a maglev. Did you guys check out the maglev yet?
No, we haven't. We're probably going to try to do that later today.
Yeah, and so it used to be when I came here, I've been here a number of times, I haven't done it this time yet, but every time I came to SNEC, I would get on the maglev. And so it goes from downtown Shanghai to the airport, and it's magnetic levitation. The locals aren't too impressed by it. It's one of those things where like, oh, it's for tourists, it costs too much, we're not making our money off of that thing. But it's really cool. It's sort of like a train where you have to worry about aerodynamics. And then another thing that's kind of interesting with the maglev is I got off a few different times, like 2 different times. I took pictures of the train, and I want to go get a good picture of the front of the train, and there's a blood spot there. And so I don't know if it was people camping out on the tracks or what, you know. I decided not to sleep on the track of the maglev. Sound like a good idea? It looks sort of like a monorail.
Yeah, you shouldn't sleep there.
Yeah. And it goes really fast. I think like they had to throttle it down a little bit, and it was still going like 300 kph. That's kilometers per hour, not 300 kilowatts per hour. Got that? And so it is an electric train. There's a lot of neat stuff to do. Have you done any other tour stuff here in Shanghai?
We arrived in Shanghai on Saturday, but we went to Hangzhou for a couple of days. So once we got back, we were basically conference, meetings. So we're probably going to do some tourism today in the afternoon. Go to the market, maybe go to the Bound, have a couple of drinks around the river, have fun, enjoy. I mean, it's been a long week, honestly.
Yeah.
It's been a long week.
Yes, yeah, you guys got to stay out of trouble. And you went to some factories too, right? You guys went to some factories?
Yes, Mr. Arango says we went to Hangzhou for a factory tour. We stayed there for one night. It was so interesting to see how they assemble all the string inverters, the batteries, microinverters. They also had a new line of heat pumps. It was the best.
Okay. And can you say what factory it was, or is it just kind of keep it low key? So they know some secrets. They can't even tell us what factory it was. Come on, please. And so let's try to take, they were making microinverters, other inverters. And I guess like a lot of times when people are coming here, they're shopping around to get stuff to bring home to do some installations there. So did you find anything to bring home to fill up your suitcase?
You know, something that caught my eye this week, there's a lot of built-in PV systems for panels for like the covers of the buildings. We saw a lot of that. And I think that might be something that we might bring back to Panama and start incorporating it into the designs with some architectural films for future buildings, because most of the built-in PV, you need to wire it while you are building the actual structure. But that's something that we were looking at and talking about yesterday.
Yeah, and it kind of just made me think too, is when we went to Panama, you guys took me on a tour and I got to see a bunch of your jobs. So we saw, I think it was like a big industrial building, a school, an eyeglass factory. And so do you get your glasses from solar power now?
Well, that's what he's thinking about offering glasses with solar power incorporated to these new buildings.
Oh, okay, what, like eyeglasses?
No. Glasses with the thin film inside.
Okay, yeah, and that, I was just walking around just like 20 minutes ago, and I did see this booth, and it was kind of interesting. They had all this different BIPV, sort of BIPV, I guess it's like windows, and they sell you not just the percent efficiency, but the percent transparency. Yeah, and then they can have different colors and all that kind of stuff. And so typically it's like the darker colors are better at absorbing light. Red is kind of the part of the spectrum that crystalline uses, but thin film, it's probably not as big of a deal that, to be red, because red would be reflecting away the red light, which is really good for crystalline silicon. So what other kinds of really cool stuff did you guys see here?
We were also looking at the racks that were like cable racks. Down in Panama, there's a lot of places that we could put systems which are very complicated for the grounding of the ground mount systems. You basically put like 2 or 3 poles in the ground and then everything else just tied with cables. That's something that we also caught our eye, and we want to be looking into that to see if we can bring that to Panama as well.
Are you guys doing a lot of ground mounts in Panama or sticking with rooftop?
Mostly rooftops. Not that much grounding, but that's only us and solar. But there's a lot of projects of solar farms in Panama too.
Great. And so is your solar jobs, are they powering the Panama Canal?
I mean, in some way maybe, but I wouldn't say that directly, no.
Yeah, I remember that when I was there visiting, it was in January, and I happened to be there on Inauguration Day. And then, of course, there was somebody giving some speech, some brand new world leader, and talking about taking away the Panama Canal. How did you guys keep your canal?
The Panama Canal is from Panama.
It's kind of funny. So what do you think?
I mean, everybody's welcome to come visit the Panama Canal in Panama. And if they ever come, let us know and we'll show you around.
Yeah, and I happened to be there, and I was afraid that somebody thought that they were going to think I was there to take it. You know, I could have been some spy, but everybody was super familiar. I mean, super friendly to me, and you guys took me out to all these great restaurants and all that kind of stuff. So I'm recommending everybody to go visit Panama. It's a beautiful place. It's surprisingly a very modern place. I know they even have an RE Plus conference there. Did you guys go to that conference?
Yeah, it was pretty good actually. There's a lot of people there, and they're probably gonna do it again next year if I'm not mistaken. Not sure, but yeah, Panama has a big convention center in a place called Amador, which is basically like an island that is outside of the main city, which you can like take bike rides or walk or take the boat rides to the islands that are outside of the city. And it's a pretty big convention center. I mean, I wouldn't compare it to where we're standing right now in Shanghai, but for the modest size that we have in Panama, it's a decent size. I mean, it looks bigger on a good day too.
Great. Yeah, and one of the things that you notice about Panama is they have like the Atlantic side, they have the Pacific side. The Pacific side is southern Panama. The Atlantic side is northern Panama. So Panama doesn't have like east and west side. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Well, I see I have a couple more podcast guests here too. Any last words?
You're all invited to go to Panama, as Mr. Arango says. And next time we take this guy fishing, we're going to upload some videos.
Okay, all right. Yeah, we're going to go down there. We're going to do some fishing. We're going to have a lot of fun there in Panama. And I think everybody should go there, get a house so you can get NSolar to install solar on your house.
Yeah. Thank you for the opportunity. And thank everybody that's here. And see you in Panama.
All right. Thank you, my very favorite Juan Carloses. And well, I have to include my other Juan Carloses that are still in Panama. So thank you very much. And yes, it's true. Both guys on the stage here with me are both named Juan Carlos, and they're good friends of mine. So thanks for listening to Sean White's Solar and Energy Storage Podcast. If you want to get yourself NABCEP certified, like these guys that are sitting on the stage with me right now, go to solarsean.com. Woo!